So in this section we're going to talk about the new HTML5 canvas element, and you can see I'm on the w3schools.com website, and I would definitely suggest this website for anybody learning HTML or pretty much any kind of web scripting language or whatever. It's very informative and it's very simple and put together. So in the canvas element, it's used to draw lines, shapes, graphics, and what we're going to do is going to be relatively simple because this can get very, very complicated. You can have really really large, complicated scripts because that's the thing, is that HTML, it's only used to draw the canvas. You have to use JavaScript to put anything in the canvas, or to change it, or to pretty much do anything. So I know this isn't a JavaScript video, but to learn anything about the canvas tag, the canvas element, you'll need to do some JavaScript. And I'm going to do it along with you and try to explain it as well as I can. So if you go into your section, chapter 3, section 3, canvas lines and shapes, you'll see the program files, and these are the only two files that we're going to be working with, is this index.html and this JavaScript file called play.js. And I meant to change the name of it, but I guess I'll keep it. It really doesn't matter. So what we're going to do is I'm first going to show you what it is that we're doing. Now I know this might not look like something useful, but for the Blue Web Developer Directory, I could not figure out a project or anything that we could implement on that site with the canvas tag that wasn't too complicated for this tutorial. So we're going to take a break from the Blue Developer Directory and just learn some basics with HTML5 canvas and JavaScript. Whoop, sorry about that. So you'll see we have a bunch of boxes here, and the canvas, we can do text. It actually shows you a lot of this type of code that we're going to be doing on the W3 Schools site, but we can draw lines, shapes like circles, text, and that's what we're going to be doing. We have 5 separate canvas elements here. With the first one is going to have text. We're going to do some text, and the second one has rectangles with some strokes. The stroke is the border, and then we have some lines that we can do when we can connect and then fill, and we have some circles, and then we have some animation. I'll have to reload this to show you, but we have some cool animation here. It's just very simple and abstract, but you could see what you could do with this. You could build some really cool animation elements, sliders, or whatever. So let's look at the HTML file first, which is very simple. This is all we have for HTML. We have the doc type, the page body. We have some styling in the head tag, some CSS, and then we have the canvas elements. So we have an opening canvas tag, and then we have an ID attribute for each one. We have 5 separate ones, and then we gave each one, they're all the 400 width, 300 height, and that's it. And if you want to write, some browsers don't deal with the canvas element, and those are older browsers, like IE7, older versions of Firefox. They won't read the canvas element. So all you would have to do is type something in here like, I don't know, get a better browser, and they won't see. Actually, why don't I show you that? I'm going to save this, and I'm going to open the IE tester that I have, and this allows us to look at older versions of IE. So if I open up IE7, of course, IE6, I don't know what's going on here. Oh, here we go. Alright, so this is IE7, I think. So I'm going to load this same page in here in IE7, and you'll see it just says get a better browser. So you know, you can write what you want in the middle for people that have older browsers. Most people have modern browsers, except for maybe, like, you know, if your grandmother has a computer or something like that. But usually don't have to worry about that anymore, at least. So we got these these 5 canvas elements, and then you'll see we have a link to our play JavaScript page. This just links the JavaScript to this HTML page, and then we have this function body on load make canvas. So what that means is when this page loads, when this body loads, it's going to load the make canvas function, which is defined in the JavaScript file. So now let's look at the JavaScript file. Now this is the JavaScript file, and if you don't know any JavaScript, you're probably looking at this and just saying, holy crap, you know, because it is overwhelming to look at, but it's actually, once you understand it, it's really easy, and hopefully after I go through this, you'll understand it. So I'm actually going to make a new directory. I'm going to start fresh. So I'll just say canvas, and I'm going to copy, actually, one second. I'm not going to rewrite the HTML file, so I'm just going to put that in there because I just pretty much explained everything on the page, so we don't really have to go through that. But I am going to create a new JavaScript document and save it. I'm going to save it in that folder I just created, that canvas folder. If I can find it, there it is. And I'm going to save it as JavaScript. So if you're using Notepad++, you'll have to choose JavaScript right here, .js, and I'll name it. Actually, I'll name it Canvas because that's what you'll see. I'm not going to keep that as play. I don't know why I did that. So we'll just save it as Java. It's canvas.js. So since we saved it as canvas.js, we have to go back. Let me just make sure I'm in the right index file. So we just got to change this to canvas. So we have our HTML document complete, linking to canvas.js, and now we're in a blank canvas.js. Now I want to test it. First of all, I don't want to close this. I want to keep it open for reference. So I am going to open our new one, which has the white canvases. And the reason it has this is because of the CSS. We have a background of white and a border of black, and then the height and width comes from right here. So that's what we have. Now I want to test. I want to make sure that this JavaScript file is linked correctly. So what I want to do is I just want to say alert I'm connected. So we'll save this, and if in the alert function it just gives us a pop-up alert, so we'll reload and I'm connected. So our JavaScript is in fact connected. Alright, now I'm trying to figure out where I should start for this. Well, first of all, we know we have to have the function make canvas. So let's define that. And if you've done any other programming, JavaScript, PHP, you probably know how to define a function. If not, then just try to follow along. So we just write function, and then we write make canvas. And functions always have a parentheses when you're declaring them, and then open curly brace and close curly brace. Now, whatever we want the make canvas function to do, it's going to do here. And I'm going to do alert 1 again, or just alert 1, just to see if it's connected. I'm going to save it, reload, and it's working. Whatever you put in here is what will be in the alert. Okay, now there's many different ways to do this. It depends on your style of programming. There's 3 phases I like to do when building a shape or anything else with the canvas JavaScript. So the first thing we want to do, I'm just going to put some comments here just to explain these JavaScript comments. You can use the double /. So the first thing we want to do is get the object, and the object here is the canvas tag, the canvas element, whatever you want to call it. And the next thing we want to do is we want to set some parameters or properties for that object, for the canvas object. And then the third and last thing we want to do is I'd say action, make shape or line, whatever it is that you're doing. So keep that in mind. It might look confusing or sound strange right now, but I'm going to try to explain it. So the first canvas we have, if we look at the finished product, the first thing we're going to do is text. And we just have this text, I love HTML5. It's a light blue color, and it has a black stroke, which is a border of looks about 1 pixel. So what we want to do is first we want to get the object. So we'll go to the index HTML, and you'll see we can grab this by the ID, because the IDs are all different. So we want the canvas 1 ID. So the JavaScript function we use to get that, well, first of all, we're going to put it in a variable, and we're going to put it in the variable of canvas 1. So canvas 1 we're going to assign that canvas 1 to this variable canvas 1, and we want to do that by document dot get element by ID. And JavaScript, we usually use camel case, which is we start with a lowercase letter, and then the next word will start with, each consecutive next word will start with a capital, an uppercase. And the ID we want to get, as we just saw, is canvas 1. And then we end it with a semicolon. If you know any kind of programming, then you know that. So what we did is we put that element into this variable. Now the next thing we want to do, we want to create another variable, and this is going to be the context of the canvas object. It's a little hard to explain, so just try to bear with me. And we're going to call that variable ctx1 for context 1, and that's going to be canvas 1, which is this variable. It's going to be we're going to get the context of that variable. So we want to do a dot and then get context, and we want to put a parameter. Whenever you have a function and it has parentheses, anything in the parentheses is a parameter, and unless it's a number, you put quotes around it. So this needs to be 2D. It just has to be there. That you can't do it without the 2D there. So our first thing that we've done is done. We got the object. So I'm actually going to label these. I mean, this is just how I do it. It works for me, so just hope it works for you too. So the next thing we want to do is set the properties. And remember, what we're doing is this right here. We're going to make this text, I love HTML5. So here we want to take the context variable, which is context1, okay, and we want to set the font, and we want to set that to actually I like to use single quotes. We want to set that to 32 point, and we'll set it to Arial. So that gives us a font for this context of 32 point Arial. And the next thing we want to define for our property is ctx1 dot fill style. And what the fill style is the blue color in here. And this should be camel case again. Start with the lowercase f and then style with the uppercase s. And that is actually a color that we can use in JavaScript, and we'll call it, it's deep sky blue, which is an actual color. I'm not exactly sure why I used this and not just a simple blue, but whatever, it doesn't matter. And the next thing, the last thing we want to define is the stroke or the border, which is that black you see around the lettering. So ctx1, and we're going to do stroke style, and that's going to be another strange color. No, actually no, we're just going to do black here. Alright, so we set the properties. If we save it and look at it, there's still nothing there because we haven't done the action, we haven't made it yet. So now we'll move on to 3, which is the action. Alright, so what we want to do here is do ctx1. Remember, we're using the context variable with all of these, not the element variable. So we want to do fill text, and in the fill text function we want to put whatever we want in text. So we're going to do I love HTML5. Okay, that's the first parameter. So we need a second parameter. So 45 is from here to here. Now the next parameter is the Y parameter, and we're going to do from here to here, which is going to be 150. So that's the fill text function. The next thing we want to do, actually we can save this now and go look at it in our new site, and nothing. One second, let's see what's going on here. That looks good. Oh, see right here, I have an uppercase Y that has to be lowercase. Let's try it again. Save, reload, and there's the text, the blue text. And if you look at this, we don't have, you see, we don't have the black border like this one yet. So what we want to do is just going to take one line of code. We're going to do ctx1 dot stroke text, and we want to write the same thing. If we don't write the same exact thing, it'll look all screwed up, and I'll show you that in a second. So that's that, and then we want to do the same thing. We want the 45 X value and the 150 Y value. Save it, reload, and now we have the stroke around the fill text. So you'll see if I write, let's say if we wrote I love you HTML5 and we save, and this is just the stroke, we're doing this. If we reload, you'll see just the stroke has spelt out I love you HTML. So you gotta make sure it's the same, unless you're trying to do something else. But if you want to add a stroke to the fill text, it has to be the exact same. So that pretty much does it for this canvas, the text canvas. Now I'd like to move on to the next one. And this one is going to be 2 of them red with borders, and then 2 gray ones without borders. And I like to keep it there. I like to look at it while I'm writing the code. Just makes it a little easier. So I'll just put a comment here saying canvas 2 squares, and I'll clean this up before I actually put it in your program files, just to make it a little more, because you should always make your code as readable as possible, just so you can understand it, and then if anyone else needs to do something with it so they'll understand it. It's just it's good practice just to keep it clean. That's why I like to have it, these 3 parts. I mean, a lot of people will just do it, they'll put the actions up here, and they'll put different properties in different places. I like it to be all together nice and neat. So now we're going to do the rectangle. So we're going to do number 1 again, get an object. Now we're going to get it from here, from the HTML file. Then we're going to get this canvas with an ID of canvas 2. So we want to do pretty much the same thing here, just with the canvas 2. So canvas 2. First of all, we gotta make a VAR is just saying that you're gonna create a variable right here. So VAR canvas 2 equals document dot get element by ID. And like you just saw, I had the Y capitalized, which screwed everything up. So it's very important that you do the camel case correctly. You only want the first letter of each word to be capitalized, except for the very first one. And then we want to give that canvas 2. So we're grabbing the canvas 2 ID, and then we want to create the context. So we'll do variable context 2 equals canvas 2 dot get context. And like I told you before, we have to have that 2D in there. I apologize if I write a little slow, if I type a little slow. I know a lot of programmers on these tutorials fly through the text, but I'm actually a better programmer than a typer, so just bear with me. And the next thing we're going to do, like we did here, we're going to set some properties. And in this, we're going to actually build 4 separate rectangles in this canvas. So it's going to be a little longer than what we did with the text. So let's do, trying to think. So let's create the fill style first of the first rectangle. So ctx2 dot fill style, and that's gonna be, we're gonna make that a red color. And we'll do the stroke style, which is the border. Whenever I say stroke, it's pretty much means either outline or border. So ctx2 dot stroke style equals black. Okay, whoops, forgot my quotes, double quotes. And what else do we want? We want to do a line width for the stroke. So it's what is it? It's ctx2 dot line width equals 10. And what this means, what the line width is this stroke. This black stroke is 10 pixels wide. Okay? And that's it for the properties. And that was to, create properties. Now we want to make the object, the rectangle. So 3, make rectangle. So just trying to think. Alright, so let's do CTX2 fill rect. Okay, so the fill rect function is going to build it's going to fill the rectangle that we just created. And we're also going to create the size of it as well. This takes 4 parameters, okay? I'm just going to show you it takes 4 parameters. The first 2 are going to be where we want the rectangle to start. And for the first 2 we're going to do 45 and 5. Okay, so what that means is that 45 means it's from here to here, and then 5 means here to here. And then for this is the size of the rectangle, the X and the Y. So we want our triangle is going to be even on all sides, and I believe it was 135. So we want 135 in both of these, placeholders. Okay, and we don't need that quote there. We just want to end it with a semicolon. Now let's save and reload, see what happens. Yep, so we have our red triangle. The red is coming from right here, the fill stroke. Now we did create a stroke style of black, but we didn't implement the stroke yet. We only implemented the rectangle. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to do CTX2 dot stroke rect. Okay, and we're going to put the same. We're actually going to put the same exact parameters in here because we want it to end up in the same place. Let's save that and see what happens. Alright, so you can see it added a stroke in the same place, and we put a line width of 10. You'll see if I change this to 5 and reload, it gets smaller. You could do, you can even do 115. You can do all kinds of things. Possibilities are endless. So, as long as you get these base values, these base strategies down, you'll be able to do some really cool stuff. So that was the first square or rectangle, and now we're going to do the next one. And the next one we're going to do is the gray one on the right. So what this will take, it'll take different parameters for these first 2 parameters because we want to move it over more. Well, actually 5 will stay because it's still 5 from the top. So, and we're also changing the color. We're changing the fill color to a gray, so we need to reset it. If we don't add any more fill colors down here or stroke colors, it'll just stay at what it was. So we're going to do CTX dot, let's change the, we're going to change the fill style to, change the fill style to a dark gray, which is all 6s. Oh, we need the hash. Okay, so we get a new fill style. That means anything under this is going to have a fill style of this color. And we're not going to have a stroke for this. As you can see, there's no border. We could if we wanted to, but I didn't include it on these two. So next we're just going to go right to filling the rectangle. Whoop, I forgot to put the 2 here. So we're going to do fill rect. And for these values, we're going to do 200, and what that 200 is from the beginning of the canvas on the left all the way over. So we're going to do 200, and then we're going to do 0, and then we want to do the same 135 for both of these, for both the X and the Y. Let's save that, reload, and there's our square. Now you might see how in the, because this is our, let me just separate this. This is our first rectangle, and this is our second. Now you see this is 45 over, and then we have 5 for it to come down. The reason we have that 5 is because we have a stroke. If we kept it at 0 like this gray one, then this top stroke wouldn't be shown. If I don't know if I explained that correctly, but because the stroke will add, you know, it pushes it down, obviously. So that's why that's 5 and this is 0. Just to clear that up. Alright, so now we want to move on to this next gray rectangle with no stroke. So once again we have to reset. We get to reset the fill style to, and we'll just copy from up here. I'm going to do the gray, I believe, again. We actually don't have to recreate it because it's actually the last fill style, but I'm just going to do it anyway. And now for this, we're going to do, why is this not copying? I just want to copy this. Now we got to change these up. Bottom left triangle. Yeah, so we want 45. We want 45 over from here, and then down we want 150 because we want it to end up down here. And then the next, we're going to keep that because we want the rectangles, we want the squares to be all the same. So let's save that, reload, and now we have the gray square. So now again, we need to reset the styles, and I'm going to grab some from up here because we're doing another red with a black stroke. So I'm just going to take fill style, the stroke style, and the line width, and copy that. Put that right here. So now we can actually just take this, and if we keep the parameters like this and I save, whoop, my bad. If we keep the parameters like that, it's not going to do anything because it's behind this one. So we got to change these to 200. Yeah, 200. That'll be 200 over, and then it would be 150 150, and then keep the same size of 135. Now the stroke is going to be the same. That's going to be 150. Okay, let's save this and reload. And now we have our red rectangle or square with the black border. So that's it for for drawing rectangles and changing colors and all that good stuff. So the next thing I want to do is lines. We can create lines. We can make them go certain lengths for a certain amount. You know, we can turn them and then we can connect them and then fill them. So that's what we're going to do. This is nothing fancy. You know, this is just obviously just a quick little design that I created. Nothing special. But I mean, you know, this is just obviously just a quick little design that I created. Nothing special. But I mean, this is kind of a novice HTML5 series, and I don't want to get into too much JavaScript because this isn't a JavaScript series, even though we have been doing some JavaScript. So let's go down, and I'll just write a comment saying that we're going to be doing lines. Okay, and again, the first thing we want to do is get the element and the object and define variables for them. So this is going to be canvas 3, and it's going to be getting the ID of canvas 3 from here. Get rid of that. Okay, so now we want to change this to 3 because we're going to have a context 3, canvas 3, and then we have the 2D, so that's fine. So now we have our two variables ready to go. Alright, so lines, kind of the same thing. We want to define our properties. So let's do ctx3 dot, and we're going to do stroke style, which will basically be the color of the line. And I'm just going to make that a dark gray. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't have parentheses here. Sorry if that confused you. We want to do equals, and then we want to put them in quotes. Okay. And the next thing we want is the fill style, I guess. We don't need the fill style until we're actually done connecting them, but I'm just going to put it in now just so I don't forget. And that is going to be red. Okay. Let me move this up. So we get the stroke style. Now all we need now is the line width. So ctx3 dot line width. We're gonna do 5. Now we can start to make our object. And we're gonna start with a ctx dot start path. Okay, and that's just saying that we're going to start a new path of lines in this case. Okay, so first function we want to do after this is ctx3.move2. Okay, and the move2 function is what we have to tell them where we want to move to. So if we're starting from here, we want to move whatever 150 pixels over, and then 50 pixels down. and then we'll start the line. Okay, so we're gonna move to we're gonna move 100 out, 100 pixels out, and I'm gonna move 100 pixels down. Okay, and then we just gotta, yep, we got a semicolon. Alright, so if we save now and reload, there's nothing there, but what it's done is moved us to around right here, 100 out and 100 in, about right here. So this is where whatever we do next is going to start. It's going to start from around here. Okay, so we want to do ctx3 dot line 2, which does what a move to does, but also draws a line. Okay, so we're going to do 150 to 200. Okay. Oh, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't have added these quotes here because it's an integer, it's a number, so we don't need quotes. Okay, let's save this and reload, see what happens. And nothing happens. Oh, I did miss a hashtag right here. Still nothing. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. This isn't going to do it. We also need to do a stroke and a fill. Well, not a fill yet, but we want to do ctx3 dot stroke. Okay. Save. Nothing. What am I missing here? Maybe I do have to do the fill. But I don't think so. Huh. Oh, well, I see. I forgot 3 on the start path. Whoa. Whoa. Sorry about this. Having kind of a weird day. Well, still not there though. I hate when I get stumped like this. Start path. It's not start path. It's begin path. There we go. Sorry about that. So you see we have a line. We moved it down to here. That's what the move to did. It brought us here. And then we did a line to 150 to 200. Okay, and that drew that line. And it's 5 pixels wide from this property. The stroke style is the dark gray, so that's what you see here. The fill is a red, but there's nothing to fill yet. We haven't connected anything. So what I want to do now is just keep going with the line. So I'm going to do ctx3 dot line 2. Okay, we're going to do 200. Save that. And I'm actually going to take the fill out for now, just so we can see. Alright, so see. And let's do it again. You can just keep going with this as long as you want. To draw things or to put things together. So what do we want right here? I'm going to say I'll leave the 200 and go to 290. Save. Okay. And then the next one. I want to do 290 and 290. And then 290 and wait. Yeah, 290 and then 2 and then 100. 100. Okay. And then I want to connect it. So I'm going to do 100, 100. Okay, so now we connected it, so now we can add that fill that we took away earlier. Okay, save it, and there we go. So we made a bunch of lines, we connected them, and we filled it. Alright, so next, so we have the first 3 done. Now the next thing I want to do is circles. Now making circles is a little bit tougher than making squares, but we'll be able to do it. Alright, so first, I'm sure you know what we need to do right now, which is just get the ID, the element with the ID, and we're just going to do canvas 4, CTX 4, 4. Okay, so now we can work with the context, right? And let's make a fill style. Fill style of, how about blue? Okay, nice easy color. And now see how we began the path right here? You don't have to, but I like to close it. Just looks neater. In some cases you do need it, but we don't here, but I just like to do it anyway. So, and then down here we got to begin a path, but with 4. Okay, and the next thing we need to do is an arc. So ctx4.arc. This is what you use for circles, and that takes a bunch of parameters. And this parameter is going to be where we want it, I guess. So 200, 100, 200. Oh, I'm sorry. 230. Let me explain this. You probably know already, but the 200 is from here to here. The 30 is from here to here. Okay? So now we want to define this circle. And I'm going to say 25 for the size of it. And then we're going to have a 0. And then this part is I really don't know how to explain this. It has to do with radiance and circumference of circles. But what we need to put here is math.pi. Okay. Math.pi times 2. Math.pi times 2. And I really can't explain this. It just, you need this to give the circle its full circumference, its full radius or shape or whatever. I'm not a mathematician. I was never really good at math, so but this is what you need to put in. And I'm sure, I mean, you could look up to exactly what this is and why we do it. So next we want to do, after the arc, we can fill it. Whoop. Oh, I'm sorry, we just want to do fill. We just want to, yeah, just the fill function. Okay, now let's save and we'll reload over here. And we have our little blue circle. And we can change this. If we change this number, to 55 and save it. It gets bigger. It's not moved down enough right here, so it's cut off right now. Okay, and this, say if we took this out and then we put like something like 44, saved it. It does nothing. That's weird. I just know we need this, so that's what matters. Alright, so now let's work on the next circle. And I began that path, now I'm going to close this path. Close that path. So let's change the fill style to ctx4.fill style equals, and I'm just gonna do red. Keep it simple. And now we want to do pretty much the same thing here. Okay. Now we gotta move it. If we don't change these, it's just gonna be a circle over this circle. So we gotta change the positioning. Okay. We're gonna do 200 over, just like this one, but we're gonna do 100 down so that it's under it. Okay, and we're also gonna make it bigger. We're gonna make it, say, 45. Okay. And now if we save it, reload, we have that red circle underneath. Okay, so that's, looks like we're starting to build a snowman. Now for the next one, we're gonna do, see, there's a lot of repetitive stuff that you do when you're programming like this. So let's just change the color to black. Okay, and we want to make it bigger. We want to make it 75, and then we want to move it. We still want to keep the 200 because we want them all the same, along the x-axis, but on the y-axis it has to be down further, and that's going to be 220 from the top. Okay, let's save that. I don't know why I keep doing that. Alright, so now we have our blue, red, and black circle, just like we do here. So that's circles. Now the next thing we're going to do is our final canvas is going to be on animation. Alright, so let's get started on this fifth canvas. You'll see in the HTML file we have canvas 5. This is what we're going to be working with. Okay, so let's start this. So again, we're going to grab the variables, and this will be canvas 5, context 5, the ID was 5. Okay. Now, I'm trying to think of how I could explain this. We're going to use kind of a looping function called set interval. So I guess I'll just get into it. So we're going to write this function set interval. Okay. Oh, I didn't spell that right. Interval. And we're going to do a function inside of that function. Okay. So we have a set interval function, and inside that we have a function that we're going to deal with inside the set interval function. Okay. I'm just going to close that out. Whoop. So the first parameter for the set interval is this function. So then we have another parameter, and I'm going to write 30. Okay. Now in the function, we're going to be doing some stuff that we've done. We're going to do a CTX5, and this is going to be the fill style, and we're going to make this a black, and we're going to do a, actually, let me explain what I'm doing right here. I'm going to make a rectangle, okay, just like we've made up here, but I'm going to make one rectangle, and it's going to be the entire span of the canvas, okay, and I'm going to make it black. And we do that the same way by saying CTX5 dot fill rect. Okay, so this is just, we're creating a rectangle, and this rectangle is going to start at the 0 point. It's going to start right here, 0, 0. And now the height and width, we're going to do the width first, and we're not going to put a static number in there. We're actually going to use the canvas 5 variable along with the width property. Okay, so it's going to be whatever the width of this canvas. And then the next parameter, which would be the height, we're going to do canvas dot height. Okay, so this rectangle we're building is going to start here at 0, 0, and it's going to be the entire width and the entire height. Okay, so I think I could save, and we could see, no, nothing yet. Oh, it's because we didn't fill it, I believe. Let me just, whoop, sorry about that. Let me just think for 1 second. What if we did CTX5.fill? This might do it for us. Save and no. Okay. Fill style black. Well, let me take it out of this function for a second and see if it'll work. No, I don't know why it's not working. Oh, I forgot the 5 here. There we go. Alright, let's put the function back. The 5. Alright, so now we have a black, and the reason it doesn't cover the entire thing is that right here, and we have all the canvases, we have a padding of 10 pixels, okay? So this white, this is the padding. That's why that's like that. Alright. Let me see what happens if I take this away. Alright, so we didn't even need that right there yet. So the next thing I want to do is change the fill style, or reset the fill style, and I want to make it white. Okay, and now we're going to do a circle now. Okay, we're going to do a begin path, and we're going to do an arc. Okay, and for this arc, I'm going to show you something. Alright, so we want to make a counter, okay? We want to set a counter to a certain number, to 0, and then each time this interval goes through, it'll add 1 to the counter, which will let us put that variable into one of these, and then each time it goes through, this will change, which will cause an animation. And I could probably just show you easier than I can tell you. Well, first of all, let me just fill this. We need this fill and close path. Okay, let's see what this does. Reload. Nothing. Fill style. Arc. I'm not sure why I'm not seeing the circle. No, that's not it. Oh, I'm sorry. That's embarrassing. I forgot to have CTX5 as opposed to 4. So, alright. So now we have a white circle, which comes from this code right here. Fill style white, and we made the circle with the arc. Now I'm going to change this a little bit. Change this. I'll just say 100, and then we'll do 120, and I'm gonna do 55. Make the circle a little smaller. Save. Well, I don't know why I keep doing that. If you see my Chrome buttons up here are black for some reason, and I can't tell which is which. So I'm gonna have to fix that. And one thing I like to do here, you see how we have all these math pi times 2. I don't really like that there. It's fine if you want to keep it there, but I like to put things like this into a variable that I'm going to use over and over. So I mean, if I just copy, I cut this, sorry, and then we'll make up a variable just called pi 2. Okay, now if we go back to the top, we want to go before, right here, right after the function opens, and we're just going to say, we'll define that variable of pi 2 equals this. Okay, so now, oh, sorry, we need the var. Okay, so now instead of using this, we should be able to use our variable in all of these places. It's just easier to read, at least for me. So if we save and reload, you see it's all the same. We're just using a variable, or a constant, I'm sorry. It's more of a constant, because it's not going to change. Alright, so now let's get into the animation part of this. What we need to do, like I said before, is we need to set a counter. So here I'm going to create a new variable, and I'm going to call it pos x for position x. Okay, and I'm going to set that to 0. Now I'm going to go down here and go to this arc right here, and I'm going to take away this 100, and I'm going to put that variable. Okay, so it was 100 over from here, but now it's going to be whatever this variable is, and the variable is going to start at 0, so this circle will be at 0, but when it goes through here, what we need to add here, which is extremely important, is that we want to increase, with each loop we want to increase that variable, that position x, and we want to do that by just increasing 1. We can do that like this. Okay, so now whenever this runs, this will add 1 to the position. So after the first one, it'll go to 1, then it will go to 2, then 3, and as it's cycling through, this will be moving according to that position. So let's save this, and let's see if this is even going to work. Okay, so reload, and here we see it, our animation. This is changing. This position X, where is it? This, the hell is it? This position X right here is changing. Okay, so that's why it does that. And it doesn't keep going. There's code you can implement to make it keep going or come back or whatever. We're not going to get into that right now, but you know, if we reload, we'll see it again. So I just want to add a couple more circles to be floating through this little animation, and we can do that just by copying this. Okay, and this one, this circle, will make red, and what I want to do now is I want to make another position, but I want it to be position Y. Okay, and we're going to add 1 to that as well. And then I want to put that in this red circle. I'm just going to say, I'm going to put this back to 150 for the red circle, and then I'm going to change this right here to position Y. Okay, now we'll save, reload, and now we have two circles, one going horizontally, which is the X, and one going vertically, which is the Y position. So I'm going to go ahead and add one more, and this one can be blue, and we want to use, I'm going to have this one go down to you know, on the Y-axis. I'm going to move this over to 350 so it's not in the way of the other one. I said 350. Alright, save that, reload, and now we have a couple cool little circles animating nice and smoothly using HTML5 and some JavaScript. We're not using Flash, we're not using any jQuery libraries. It's just straight HTML and a little bit of JavaScript. So that's it for this tutorial. I think we learned a lot of the basics here. Like I said, there's a lot you can do with this. You just really gotta learn the basics first, and then you know you'll be able to eventually build some really cool applications using this technology. So that's it for this, and we'll be moving on next to section 4, I believe, or chapter 4. I think this is the last section in this chapter, so I'll see you in chapter 4.